All right, guys, welcome back to Commission Reviews. Now, you know me and Stacy B. We did last season, and a lot of you guys really love having Stacy on here. So, of course, she is back again for season two. There, hey, Mama Do, cuz from another mother. Y'all know I've been calling her cuz for like years, so it just stuck with us. Welcome.
Hey girl, hey.
Yeah. She's like my sister, goofy and everything. I swear she reminds me of her so much, it's ridiculous. All right, let's go ahead and get into the things of things. Now, this season, of course, is everything. But before we get to the topic, I wanted to talk about. I told you about it behind the scenes about how they dragged Carlton, the character who plays Carlton, about his looks, and I didn't like that. I didn't get it where it was coming from, comparing him to the first one. They're not even dragging the other character; they're dragging only him last. I didn't understand that. What is your take on that?
Well, first of all, Ali Sholaton, he is from the H, and ain't nobody about to drag my good man around me. First of all, this is a well-accomplished actor, um, performer, musician. He's a wonderful guy. He's of Nigerian roots.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly handsome, incredibly talented, and anybody who has anything to say about him are just.
Period.
I
So
mean,
let's
like,
go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
well,
I'm sorry.
okay, let's make it real. Let's make it real. So if you come into Bel Air with the 1990s version of Fresh Prince of Bel Air, you're wrong. You're walking into the wrong doors because while they're a play on while Bel Air is a play on Fresh Prince of Bel Air on the 90s show, this has more grit, it has more passion, it's more emotion, it's more real time, like real actions. You can't expect, your real life activities to be solved with a happy dance, like Alfonso Ribeiro did in the former show. Like, you can't expect that. So for any of the Carlton haters, they can just sit down, because what we're witnessing here is someone of this age. He's a young guy, right? Young man, being able to tap into some depths where he can act as someone who has these different demons that he has to fight through. Fighting through anxiety, something that a lot of people his age, the age of Carlton that he's portraying, they can relate to. They go through this anxiety. They go through being vilified. They go through all of this. So anyone who wants to come in here like it's Candyland, Bel Air, you're in the wrong place. This is an exceptional, dynamic guy.
I agree with literally everything you just said. Let's move on to the episode. And he's chocolate. Stop hating on the chocolate brothers. Okay?
Baby, because I done ate all my whoppers, but if I had another chocolate drop to eat, that's what I would do. Stop hating on him. I mean, I wouldn't. Come on now. Speak.
I was going to say Queen of the Bees is here. And y'all know how she get down. Okay? Period. I'm just excited to have her to myself, because we just have our own thing over here. Okay, I'm just saying. That's it. I want like on here, but I love the thing we got going. So in the first episode, it did not disappoint. You know the one thing about the show, you know how you get a show and the second season like, oh my god, that first episode boring. Oh, but the second episode was pretty good. The one thing I love about Bill is very consistent. I like every episode is really, really good. So anyway, the family struggling because if you remember, when Will found out about his mom and all this stuff and being upset about the dad, how Vivian and Uncle Phil, was lying to him, and then also talking about his father and all that kind of stuff. So he ended up leaving, going on his own. How did you feel about that as a mother? We have both had boys, but the thing of it is, whether your auntie, mom, whatever, because his mom was worried too, and he was just out there, man, wilding.
I think that's so indicative of this current generation. Like, they get on my last nerve. Not all of them, but some of them. Like, you are not grown. Sit down. Like, maybe they were lying to. Like, sometimes, you have a little kid, like a baby, and you be like, "Don't touch that hot, 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 hot." you don't say fire. You don't say exactly what it is, but you're telling them it's hot. And then the baby go and touch the hot stove with fire. And then they mad at you because you didn't say it was a fire, a gas stove that had a fire on it.
Right.
Like,
right.
I was kind of agitated with Will at this point because, like, boy, if you don't sit your little 16-year-old self down, like,
Exactly.
who are you to just like up and leave? You ain't do that in your mama's house when you were wilding. So why do you think you're gonna come to Bel Air and have this different experience and just gonna up and leave and go playing with fire? Like, then he had the nerve to be in Jazzy's house wearing out his welcome. If you remember how, okay, so this episode was called a fresh start. So if you remember, like, Jazz was like, you been here for 3 weeks, 2 days, 2
Right.
hours,
Exactly.
45
Will was
minutes, 2 seconds, and are those my socks? Like, Will,
he was
you're
so
wearing out your welcome. Like, this tantrum, we can only go on with this tantrum for so long.
because he was being a kid. He wants his way. He didn't like everything happened. He lashed out. And going to Jazz's house was the easy place to be. He didn't go home to his mom. He was mad at her. I get it. He was lashing out. Plus, he realized, well, trying to be, I'm going to be a man. I'm a man now. I'm a man. But you don't have no money. Like, no money. Like, you're trying to play basketball for some coins, and it's not working. Let's talk about Jeffrey. His fine ass. So Jeffrey, I love the way he is like the black 007. I mean,
I love it.
oh my goodness.
I love it.
He was trying to look out for him even though he wasn't at the house. Okay. Because Will has his plan and all the time trying to do the basketball game, and then of course getting involved with the scout, which is Doc. And he's also fine as hell as well. They get
Now,
kids to do one schools.
Wait a minute. Enter Brooklyn McLean of Inglewood, California, with his little handsome self.
Very.
As Doc. Woo!
Very, very
That's
handsome.
all I'm gonna say is the auntie's gonna be watching, honey, because Brooklyn. Then he got the nerve to be acting the hell out of this part.
Okay, this thing about it, I knew about him before. I know I've seen him before. And I'm just saying to myself, damn, you know what I'm saying? I forgot how fine he is. I really did. But I mean,
let's talk about it. So this is a guy. So enters Brooklyn McLean. And if I ain't saying your name right, Mr. Brooklyn, let me know. This is a guy who 2 years ago had a heart transplant. He has adopted, became the what you call it, the guardian of his nephew, who's a baby, who's an infant. So let's talk about how dynamic of a man this is, playing the part of a villain. Or I mean, to Uncle Phil, he's a villain at this point, but playing the part of, like a ball hustler, a Cali ball hustler, yes, who's a AAU coach, one of these guys that's whatever, making moves in the basketball world of California. Now, where I'm stuck at on the introduction of Doc is when he and the other guy, and I failed to capture his name, they were in his office and he was like, everybody's not what they seem. And he showed a picture of the Banks family. So I am interested to see how this is going to develop. Like, what is that angle? Because you're seeing who his family is, So I want to see, like, what's the end game here? Like, what's his angle he's playing? Is he really down, or is he trying to do some quid pro quo, like get something for something else?
Let's also talk about Carlton and Will with how they changed this season. We're seeing them close, like brothers. I love that they, he's looking out for him at the school. because they have their own issues with the girlfriends and Carlton, his ex girlfriend, all this stuff got
Lisa.
going on. I love it, yeah. But to me, him and Lisa, they're friends. But I don't know. For some reason, I want to talk about this episode too. Actually, I don't get into it. But I'm liking to see Carlton going to the Black Student Union. Because he likes Yasmin and she's really pretty.
Yeah.
That she also likes him too. She likes him too. So I like how
Yeah.
he's trying to get him. He's opening up and just changing things because he went to the meeting. Of course, they called him out, but Will was trying to say like, look, he's coming here. He's coming here with a good heart. Just give him a chance. Because he got voted class president, and Carlton felt like that they did more complaining than being active, which does happen
Right.
commonly.
Which was a good point for Carlton to make, because like that resonates with us watching the episode, because it's like it's always easy to complain when you're not involved. He's saying, like y'all, you may think like I'm a Uncle Tom or a sellout, but I'm involved in our actual student body government, like trying to make change, but I'm doing it by myself. Like if we didn't just sit here and complain on this end, I would be more engaged here. And I think that was a wake-up call for everybody in the Black Student Association at the school.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you were supportive of them. Like I am so like this season, like just seeing him and Yasmin's interactions, like I want to see a love story develop, because right now, like he is, last season he was the antagonist, for Will. So I do want to see like a softening and maturation of Carlton in a different direction. Like I don't always want it to be like conflict or cocaine or anxiety. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree. I also want to get into Viv with her interview and her fellowship, which is really frustrating because she has some good ideas. And I feel like that even though he was fine, Michael Ealy, Reed did that really wrong, how he treated her. Like you got the article all about you and taking another woman's ideas, partially probably because he's mad and bitter because she didn't want to give him none. Let's be clear. He wanted some of that and she didn't want to give it up. So I didn't like that. That was cold-blooded.
Like you mad she loved her husband.
And Uncle Phil went back to his firm and left that whole political, which I don't know why they even wrote that in there, but he wouldn't make a difference. So he went back to his firm. His co-workers, let's talk about that real quick. How about this? A firm that's actually his, he decides to go back to. Why is it that the people that's there with him do not want him there? You could tell it was so awkward, that conversation. Oh, I didn't know you were coming back. Like, what?
That was his firm. And who did James think he was? And then James abruptly just left the meeting when Philip didn't say what he wanted to hear. But I think that goes back to how out of touch Philip was with, he was so focused on running for office that the things that mattered that he actually did control at the time got away from him. Even his own company, where he's an outsider coming into his own company. That was crazy to me. Like I was the audacity of James. I think his name was James.
I think it was he wants what he has. The way he was looking at him, like, oh, I thought this was mine.
Okay, now is that the guy from Good Girls, the husband from Good Girls?
I didn't watch that. I didn't watch that show. I watched one episode. I don't remember.
I think the same guy is on Daddy Daycare, maybe. The second one.
Yes, I think you might be right. He looked familiar. I was like, where do I know him from? But I don't like. I got a feeling that this is going to be a problem. They're going to go edit this. We're seeing the prelude to what's going to happen, because the way he looked at him and talked to him, like, who are you doing here? It's like, bro, this is my place. What are you talking about?
Right, like
interaction.
My gut is telling me attempted hostile takeover. Like they're trying to take this from Phil, and Phil, this is going to be a come to Jesus season, I think, for Philip to fight for what you already have.
So I want to talk about Hillary, the influencer house with Kylo. That is hard to watch with Ivy because she wants to control everything. This girl has a bottle. Even at her own sister's birthday party, I was like, what in the world? I didn't understand.
Baby, Ivy is using Hillary. Because Hillary has these connections that, you know, last season we saw Hillary like adoring and wanting to emulate Ivy, but now we see who's the one with the real power and the real influence. And what we see is that every chance she can get, Ivy is trying to capitalize off of Hillary's connections. I think this is going to be a huge bomb explosion.
I don't know what she's gonna do because she literally got out of a situation where the influencer house was ran by that man. So now where this girl you thought who was your friend is doing it and it's not working for you. So you're not, how do you say, she's not really winning in my opinion. She could have stayed doing what she was doing. What do you think?
Well, let's talk about how Ivy totally set her up to kick the black guys out. I forgot their name, but Hillary said,
Oh, the
I
twins
mean,
or something?
Hillary. She's like, I have to get rid of the black guys, and they're crying with ugly faces. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So Ivy already set her up to be the bad guy. And Hillary was shocked to see them come in the door.
Yeah, she was because she thought she took care of it. Because when you are allegedly a boss or you bought the company, she's not making any decisions. What she's actually doing is I bought the company. Actually, I'm sorry, you run it, Hillary, and deal with all the bad and the ugly, and I'll just deal with the easy stuff and show my brand off and happy and all the stuff. You just deal with all the ugly stuff, and I'm like, that's not a fair trade. I think I would start my own influencer house. I haven't seen the. Of course, we don't know. It, I'm not sure what you think about that, but in my opinion, I would start my own influencer house.
No, I agree. That wasn't a fair trade. Like I said, Ivy is just concerned about building her brand. She's trying to use who she can use to be on her come up. And Hillary was looking to do something different, to be in control of her narrative. And now, you know, we see how she keeps bending and being walked over by Ivy, who she thought was her friend, or she thinks is her friend.
Right. And she's not. She's just. I'm not gonna say she's not a friend. I just think this moment she's being super selfish. She probably thinks Ashley owes her, because I'm not Ashley. I keep saying that. She probably thinks that Hillary owes her because she knew that Hillary confided in her, saying the situation she was in is very dire, uncomfortable, and just whatever. And so she told her that in confidence. And can you help me out with benefit? Da da da. But instead of just being her friend, I felt like she took advantage of it. Like, well, I'm gonna buy this, and then just run through her like whatever. She can do what I don't care. It's my company. She probably thought about it, was like you said, I can use Hillary for her connections and not tell her what I'm doing until it's too late. I bought the house, you're in it, you run it. The end. So I want to get into Ashley, the birthday girl. She has a new teacher, new to us, but we didn't see the character being introduced until this season. Mrs. Hughes, who's played by, of course, Ashley Banks. She got a book.
OG.
She got a book about the Black Panthers, and I remember when she gave me that book, I was looking like, I don't know why I feel like something is going to happen. And then I also like how Bel Air put the fact that we all remember when Ashley had her 13th birthday party. And they did it again, but like you said, this updated version, I loved it. What did you think?
Yeah, I loved it. Like, instead of Tevin Campbell, there was Saweetie. You know what I mean?
Girl, I was like, that's so cute to me. And Sweetie's so cute too. I just love the way the writers or whoever's writing it. I mean, I know who that gets their name, but they are doing a really good job because it's such a hard situation. So anyway, they were on a yacht, and Will and Jazz almost missed it because here go Will once again trying to get with the doc. And the way he showed up there, it really had to humble him because Will was like, "Oh, I could I did this, not that thing." By the doc knew who he was already. And so when Will hurry up and he got the biggest guy there, even Jazz was like, "Bro, what are you doing?" So he ended up taking it from him. But Doc was acting like he didn't want him. I think Doc knew he wanted Will the whole time. He knew his stats. He knew his school. I thought about this after I watched the show. And I'm not sure how you feel about it. I feel like that Doc always will go after Will. It was all set up to me. I think Will was set up. Everything. Not saying Jazz did. I'm not saying that. I just feel like the guy that called him, it was a setup. All of it.
Yeah, the
What do
guy
you think?
who he's been clearly the guy who he's been playing with, who he's been getting that side money from, which, in steps Jeffrey, who tells Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, hey, Will's going back to the same BS he was doing in Philly, playing ball for money and this foolishness. So this is just, are we watching history repeat itself in this case? Because it's close to the same thing. I mean, it wasn't an AAU coach, but it's Will losing his head, trying to impress people on the street. I don't mean that as a bad thing, like saying people on the street, but yeah, you know what I mean.
No, I get it. No, because when you just think about it, it's weird. Because Will grew up, in this type of environment, but he goes and lives with his uncle, which is super preppy, super upper middle class, rich, whatever you want to say. I grew up in the middle class, da da da. It's called, well, back then it was called like a street cred, where you want to at least say, yeah, I come to prep school, but I'm still a G at heart. Like, no, you're not. You have a vest on with a name on the collar. Your name is instanced in your underwear. You're not the same person. And some people in that position want to have that I'm so hard street cred stuff. And Will, even in the show, I caught this. Will struggled with that a lot on the show we watched every week when we were younger, and then even here, because he's from the street, but you're changing now. You're getting accustomed to this lifestyle living with your uncle. Your mindset is changing, and so you're changing. And
right.
When you know what I'm saying, go ahead.
But you feel these obligations. I mean, like, we see this every day with some of our rappers, right? We're seeing these court cases with our rappers, and I'm just like correlating it to like our everyday life, right? I'm just making it make sense to some of our viewers. Like, in our everyday life, we've witnessed some of these well-to-do rappers who came up out of, less than comfortable beginnings, who've made a way, they've made money. You think they're changing their lives. They've been given these different opportunities. And then for whatever reason, they want to revert, whether it's street cred, whether it's just the nature of the beast. Like, you can't get the guy out of you can bring the boy off the streets, but you can't bring the streets out the boy. I don't know what it is. But I mean, like, how many court cases right now are we witnessing with some promising guys? Like, even if we look at the whole Ja Morant thing, like, let's look at how some people want to have this connection to a certain people or certain faction of Americans, and they mess up the opportunities that they have now, and they totally get too comfortable and take what they have presently for granted, in them reverting to some old habits or some popular, street popular things. You know what I mean?
I do. I skipped over this. I looked at my notes. Jazz and talking to Hillary about them going public. I don't know why that made me sad, because I feel like Jazz probably is in love with her. I feel like she's in love with him too. But for him, he's like, I want to shout to the rooftops, you my girl, or whatever. And I could just tell he struggled with the fact of her not wanting to go public. And she's saying to avoid people being in their business or whatever. And so I wanted to see what you thought about that before we move on to continue with the birthday party.
Well, I'm glad you went back to that, because I think that's a weak ass excuse for Hillary, because that's Hillary not in her mature space for whatever reasons, whether it be demographics, whatever it is, that she doesn't feel comfortable publicizing this relationship. And you can see that what Jazz feels for her is authentic because she didn't feel away, if you remember, until Will confirmed, oh, he talks about you all the time, all day, every day. And she was like, oh,
Yes.
really? He does. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what Hillary has going on, but she's gonna miss out on a good thing if she keep playing.
Yes. So the party was everything. Okay. Even
Wait,
though
but
Will.
before we go on,
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
do you know that's Taraji P. Henson's godson? The
Wait. Who?
character that
Who?
plays the actor that plays Jazz. Um,
No, I did not. Wow. I did
yeah,
not know that.
I want to say he graduated from UCLA. Shout out to him. Hillary Coco Jones, she actually graduated in 2021. Like these are like some well-to-do, like these are some actors that like these are some hardworking, like they got it on their own
Right. Right.
actors. Like they are
Love that.
passionate actors. So
Yes.
anyway, Jazz Jordan L. Jones, he graduated from USC, and that is Taraji P. Henson's godson,
That's
honey.
beautiful. Well, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
me and a black woman content creator, it takes that, and I like to hear those types of stories because it is when you have a dream and you're trying to go for it, it can be rough as hell. Also, too, I don't want to gloss over the fact that Jazz, another great positive note, he was pushing, his boy Will to reconcile with his uncle. And so I thought that just shows something about his character. And even on the show, I like to go back and forth a little bit about it, but even on the show, Jazz was like this quick 30-second microwave version, annoying a little bit, but he would have those moments when he would say something really smart to Will. In this version, we get to see the whole thing, like is in depth. Everything you said, I'm saying, it has more depth to it. I mean, I just wanted to point that out. So, do you want to add anything about that before we go on to the rest of the party?
Nope, I think you're spot on.
Okay, so the party was awesome, like I said, and like I said, Will and Jazz jumped on there. Da da da. So actually, we talked. You brought up about how she had a sweetie there, and Uncle Phil did, say he was sorry, and I like the fact that they
He
made a.
finally acted like he finally acted like an adult. Like this entire time. Like, like sometimes as a mom, I ain't sitting around waiting on my kids to apologize to me. Sometimes as a bigger person and as the adult in the room, you gotta humble yourself and be like, hey, look, I'm sorry that I made you feel this way or whatever you need to be apologetic for. Sometimes you need to teach the child, young adult, how to apologize, or how to communicate their feelings. Like Uncle Phil, like even if you look at it with Jeffrey, he's walking around like with his thumb in his mouth, pouting when he messed up his relationships with these people. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And you're waiting for these people to circle back to you, and you're mad at them because they didn't heal in the time you wanted them to heal to speak to you first. No, sir, come off of it and go talk to them.
I agree with
So
that.
I'm glad that at all episode long, it took us all episode to get to the party to where Uncle Phil apologized to Will and told him he loved him and told him he was wrong and invited him back home.
Okay, so wait a minute, hold on with my notes here. The Will and Lee situation really hurt my feelings because we've all been young. I've been I was a mean girl even then, but I'm just saying I just remember being young and liking somebody. They tell you something you don't want to hear, and it seemed like she was trying to talk to him the whole time. When he finally did, he's like, "Look, I messed up, but I need time for myself." I'm like, the what? Come on, Stacey. Come on. What you think? Chad, that was a lot. I felt bad for little mama. She didn't mess up her whole
Right.
world. And he gonna use the excuse talking about, and your pop don't like me anyway. I was like, come on, Will, really? If you really
Yeah, he
loved
was
her, you would deal with that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
right. Like this is a girl who lost her mom, who was willing to have be at odds with her only parent over you, Will. Like she was defending him, she was going against the grain, following her heart, doing what she needed to do to nurture her relationship with Will. And let's not forget, remember, didn't they share like a little intimate moment last season? So
Yeah.
I'm like, really, Will? And
And
who the
she's a virgin
hell
too,
breaks
right? Is she
right?
a
And who
virgin?
breaks
Oh my
with
god.
somebody at a who breaks up with somebody at a party?
That was
Like
horrible. Mm.
this self-centeredness about like Will, I gotta figure it out. Like I just want Will to sit back and like be a person and stop always trying to figure something out. Like to me, I'm a mom with,
Yeah.
well, my eldest is 22, but I have teenagers. Like it's a role for y'all. It's only so much worry and stress about the world that y'all should take on. The rest
Yeah.
of it, let me handle it.
I agree. Let's talk about Jazz and Ivy. Lord, when I first saw him dancing in the corner, I was like, what is going on? Then I said to myself, you know what? Jazz, do you? Because she's already being this, I can't tell nobody. I said that was my son. And he came to me in a situation like that and said, Mom, I love her, but she don't want to see me in public. I swear to God. And I saw some girl talking to him. You single, you know that, right? So she wants to be with you in public. Go ahead and talk to her. If she don't can't be bothered with you, there's no way to go. I want you to put yourself out there where it's like you love her so much. Allegedly, I say this. She loves you, but doesn't want to be in public. No, sir. You're fine without that. I'm just saying this is how I feel. How do you feel about that? I know you have sons. Like you mentioned your son's 22. So I mean, we have sons over 20 and under 20. So, oh, how
I
would
know
you?
that be getting on my nerves. I can't stand him acting grown.
Girl, it's a lot, and that's some tea too. We'll have to do a podcast about that one day. I swear. Oh yeah, I know. Please understand that if you don't have time to watch YouTube, all my lives and everything that I do is always downloaded the next day or so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I think Radio something. I'm sorry with the name of it, and Amazon Music and a few other sites. You can type in Commission Reviews Podcast and follow any of that so you don't miss anything. And Stacy B, I would love to do a podcast with her, like mom just ranted, like an actual on my podcast, and it would be everything. We have so many things we can talk about, like boys, for instance. They've been driving me crazy. I don't care if they hear this. Um,
Girl, crazy. I've been having to mute every 2 seconds. I'm sorry if it sounded like I wasn't paying attention at any time because they
no,
keep
I didn't. I
interrupting.
couldn't say it.
Oh,
I couldn't say it.
Jesus. Jesus.
So, the situation with Jazz and Ivy. What do you And then also she says, "I love you." After that, I would feel away if that was my son or a friend of mine or whatever. Like, what do you
So
think?
like you don't love me until some other girl is expressing interest in me. That's how I felt. I was like, girl, like
Pretty much.
you literally at the earlier in the episode, you told Ivy he wasn't dating anybody. You don't know what he got going on. And now suddenly I'm his woman. But I was like, I mean, y'all cute together or whatever anyway.
Well, well. So,
Like
well, pretty.
you and I are not friends. You are not friends. Y'all are associates, Hillary. Hillary gonna have her feelings hurt real bad this
I
season.
think
I
I
can
think
feel it
she
coming.
is. Me too. I feel it. Um. So her and Jazz are now official. Okay. Uh. Will move back to the crib finally after having a tantrum for whatever how long. Then all of a sudden Doc calls him and he says he'll be go come check him out playing basketball. And he's all hyper so excited. But the thing about it, like you said, at the very end of the episode, we seeing Doc and wonder why he has the interest in it, showing him look at the picture of Uncle Phil and everything. Like what is up with that? You know what I'm saying? What's the tea with that? Why is he looking at his picture? And that's just odd to me. And I didn't like that. Like I felt like this whole thing was a set of wheeled and went back home. And I'm gonna say something. You talk about rappers, and you understand how I'm tying this together. When you elevate, don't go backwards. You can support and do all kind of things without being home. So many rappers, even in Texas, that the one that got shot in Dallas. recently. I hate to use that word. I ain't supposed to use that word. You know what I'm saying? You go back home. Why? You can support from afar. Move your mama out if you have to, so you ain't gotta just be going back home. Will went back home and started doing all this stuff he used to do back in the day, and he didn't introduce an element from that. Now I don't care who says whatever into their lives. We're thinking, oh, he came back home, we're happy, everything's peachy. No, it's not. Because of his actions, he didn't brought Doc into the picture. Because I really believe that Doc has been following the whole time. You heard what he said? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you telling about him. You were right. So something is up with that. I don't know if it's a cash cow at the end of these kids. I don't know what it is. And the fact that he looked at Uncle Phil's picture, either he knows him or they have a past or something. What do you think?
That or that rich family, like he pulled up like an election, like an official photo about him. Like that shit, that wasn't just lying around, you know what I mean? And
Right.
Uncle Phil had already been out of the race. So where did that conveniently come from? You had already been researching the ops. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
exactly.
you know who this is. And and I also think that his niece Jackie, I'm looking at her sideways too.
Mm. Well, okay, we're gonna get into we're doing episode 1 and episode 2. So we can go there with that part as far as what you said, Denise. So I'm not gonna say, because I went back and forth about this. I was like, okay, so are we saying that she's setting this situation up to maybe whoever she is, that he uses her
So
to date the guys,
yeah,
bait the guys and bring
they,
them in because she's beautiful. What do you think?
so so how did Doc know? I mean, later on in episode 2, how did Doc know that Will would be on the dance floor with Jackie at that exact moment to walk up behind him? She stops dancing. Oh, that's my uncle.
And I feel like, just we're on the topic of her, and we'll go back to the beginning of episode 2, that she's like the temptress. And I say that because
Mm-hmm.
I know she's a young lady, but look at where he's going. He is already not even trying to talk to the girl that he was so in love with when he first came to Bel Air. And she's changing her life around for him and just kind of dropped her off. He got some new candy dangling his face, and we all grinding on the dance floor. I know you guys comment about that. I mean, because that's the way I looked at it.
I know, because she was grinding like she from the dirty South, baby. Because when he was like,
Let me
this
find
how we
out.
do it in Philly. And then she was like, And then she started grinding. I said, oh, baby, you from down south? Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
but like I said, so you do agree about that she is
Her
like
being
the,
a temptress.
yes,
Oh, absolutely. Because you wasn't trying to figure out life and break up with Lisa before you met her.
and I feel like he did that because of her.
Oh yeah.
Not,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
That's so
you
I
know what
don't feel
I'm saying?
guilty. Yeah, that's so he doesn't feel guilty for talking to her. And I mean, truth be told, Jackie been talking to him on the phone for how long, and she never disclosed the fact that that was her uncle, and she knew he was interested in that man.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I
It was
feel
close.
like this is something we've
It was,
seen before in maybe like a different scenario. Somebody was related to somebody. I don't know if it was on the show or what it was like on the original Fresh Prince, but I felt like when I was watching the scene, it was ringing a bell. Like, oh, I didn't know that was your uncle. Oh, I didn't know that was your niece. Oh, I didn't know that was your daughter. Like it was just ringing a strange bell to me. I'm
okay.
so glad. But as Doc enters the scene, I'm so glad that Jeffrey has reemerged. I don't know if you want to go into this as well. He and Uncle Phil had a conversation, and Jeffrey
Yeah.
comes back home. But I'm so happy that Jeffrey is back to add that investigative balance.
Yes. Yes. I was
I
happy to see. He's like the best. Because this is the thing. He is like the uncle because he to me the relationship remind me of two brothers, right? The two of them, and so he's the uncle. These his nieces and nephews, but he's also, I would not say a butler. He makes sure that everything in the house is organized, including the parents. Everything is organized. You got 2 minutes. He has to count down on his watch. Everything, he knows everything to the T. What they got to do. They're on them. Like if their parents are clueless or lost, whatever. He's like, look, I saw you out there talking to that dude. You know what that dude does? Because he has connections, and I love it. Like I want them one day to really get into his character, like all these connections that he has. He's like I told you, a black 007. I want them to kind of show more of a not a whole day, but like when he leaves from there, what does he do? How does he know these things? What is his phone calls like? Whenever Uncle Phil says, look into this real quick for me, and he walks off. I want to see that process. What do you think?
Right. I do want to see like what's up. I definitely do want to see how Jeffrey knows everything. Like, how are you this all-knowing freaking Jeffrey? Like, what kind of mob ties does he really have? Because if we remember in season 1, he knew like people were coming for Will. He knew, hell, he knew they were coming for Phil. He knew everything. Like, and that goes back to Uncle Phil. If there's ever a time to put your pride aside for a Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Talking about who gonna humble themselves real quick for a friend like him, because he has your back. And what we're seeing is the sacrifices that Jeffrey made to be his friend.
Hmm.
He doesn't have a relationship with his own son, and I hope we get into that.
The comments that he said to him about that was hurtful. Like he put himself, like you said, that really bothered him, and I understood why. The other part of episode 2, Carlton talks to his parents about lowering the doses of his anxiety medication. In my opinion, I was afraid for them to do that because we saw how he kind of spiraled out of control last season. What do you think about it?
Well, I can understand, like, when you're on such a high dose of medication, it does have like after effects. So I can understand him wanting to feel normal or feel like himself or have some control in his life. He's like, listen, my grades are suffering. I can't sleep. Like, and I think that's real. I think that again, that's an important conversation to have. Uh, which goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, like with all the Carlton haters. Like this young man is confronting a lot of issues that we have, with our youth in everyday life, like, prescription dosages, like how it affects people, how it makes them feel, how it makes them feel outside of their norm. I'm just happy that, his parents were receptive enough to listen to him. I was definitely looking at the club scene really hard. I watched it twice to make sure, like to kind of check to see if he was gonna slip back and take something or sniff some or whatever.
Yes. I was watching too. I was very afraid. But you know what? I wonder, do you feel like when he checked on him, he said you're okay? Didn't it seem like he was on something? No, I hate to, I'm just being honest. I watched that clip twice. I mean that scene. And when he was dancing and grinding, he went back over there and he was like, you okay? He was like, yeah, I'm okay today. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? What do you think?
I did feel like he was just like a little super active. Like he was like on a hey, yeah, huh.
Right. And he's not normally like that. I mean, I get loosened up or whatever, but
yeah,
something was anyway. I don't know, but that's why I said with the whole anxiety thing. I don't know the after effects of this. Like you said, there's side effects. I don't know. I just don't know what's gonna happen. So, I'm sorry. They get the black student was a founder award or whatever, and the BSU rally because Miss Hughes, who gets terminated. Now, I really want you to talk about this because for a lot of reasons. So she is one of the few, as they stated, black teachers in that facility. Let's start there. So they were giving her problems, and Ashley was watching, of course, the other Ashley, getting chastised, obviously, by the faculty or whatever, principals, whoever it is, because of the fact she's showing black authors to, and I even saw that little white child. I'm gonna say it. I'm sorry who don't like it. She going a little mini Karen. She gonna stare at Mrs. Hughes when she handed Ashley a book. How dare she bum with that black girl? Oh, it's another black book. I can't relate. She went and told somebody about that. The next day, they hemming her up in the office, gonna close the door.
But I mean, but why? If I saw somebody giving, if I as a student ever
Hmm.
saw somebody giving somebody a book, if I as a business owner, as a human being, like as an adult, ever saw someone meeting after class doing something, like how does that interrupt the curriculum? Because that's what her mom tried to blame it on. Like, oh, we asked her not to give instruction outside of the curriculum.
Right.
Well, like as a student, like several times I asked my black teachers, hey, is there more? Is there another book that you'd recommend? Hell, I ask
Come
that
on.
to this day. Like, are you crazy? Like, you can't penalize her for giving what her students are asking her to do. And what are you mad about that she's empowering the black kids that's around your child to be to be more informed, to be more productive, to be more independent? Like, what are you mad about if a child is really interested in growth? Is that, and they're going to their teacher, and the teacher is in a position to help them get to that next level? What is really the problem other than these are little black kids or Hispanic kids asking for this assistance? I'm sure if her daughter went to Miss Hughes after class and asked her for, a book to read, if she was that
Yes,
interested in growth, I'm sure Miss Hughes would have recommended something applicable to her as well.
I agree. I can remember when I
It
was in
was
school. Cause
messy and it was trifling, and you wanna hold her accountable to some, to, like, like in politics we call it like the Mickey Mouse. Like, you wanna hold them accountable to some invisible red tape, like, like laws that don't
yeah,
really
I get it.
nobody
Hmm.
really enforce. Like in Mississippi, in like Natch was it Natchez, Mississippi? I'm not sure if it's changed now, but I remember years ago, like it was still against the law to like chew gum and walk on the sidewalk, or spit on the sidewalk. Things that, like black folks were
Wow.
unfairly prosecuted for back in the
Yes.
day. So, so I feel like these parents were trying to hold her to some invisible rules that they don't hold
A, a,
anyone
a,
else
a
to.
code a code of honor she don't know anything about, and all this kind of crazy stuff. Uh,
No, but it's something that's like not really, it's not even
it's
relevant. Like we
it's
told her
not.
not to give instruction outside the curriculum, but she's not instructing
Mhm.
the class outside of the curriculum. Ashley is going to her, asking her for more. Like as a kid, I would
The
feel
student
guilty
was
if I
jealous
got
to
somebody.
me. But see, I feel like Stacy. I'm gonna say something. I feel like the student was jealous. Okay, she didn't
Oh yeah,
understand.
she's
Instead of asking the questions like, "What is that? I'm interested. Can I get a book?" Maybe do it that way. When I was in school, I didn't have any black teachers. I was in predominantly white classes, and so were the teachers. And there was one teacher who I thought was white this entire time. I was working. I mean, at the school, kind of found out she was from New Orleans and she was mulatto, so she was really light. She had red hair and glasses. And I'll never forget it because I was in the classroom. It was Black History Month, and I was not Black History Month. I was going off about how small. It wasn't a book about us, about being black or whatever. And people in the class was giving me crap, and I was the only one black in there. So I was standing up for myself and going back and forth. So the teacher thought I was like being like too much. And then instead of her dealing with it as a teacher, she sent me to the counselor. And then I thought she just sent me to a regular counselor, the principal or whatever. But then she said she started talking, and this New Orleans accent came out, and she said it's the reason why they sent you to me, Mama. And then she started to tell me, and I straight told her, I said, I didn't know you were black. I straight told her that. It was so funny, but I said all that to say that black children do need that in the schools, all these things, because yes, teachers are supposed to be able to teach all the students. They should be able to, but there's times where something is about us, and that Miss Karen or Miss Debbie is not going to understand. But I bet Mr. Johnson going to understand. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
the other thing is, wasn't that same child the little girl that was like, well, what if I object to the entire book and I don't agree with it and blah 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 and Miss Hughes told her, well, oh, we'll pick a paragraph and write, why is not valid to you or whatever. I think that because she's a black teacher at this
mhm.
school that has expectations for all of her students, I feel like in this case, you know how like all too often black people get accused of playing the black card. I think this is like the reverse black card. Like because this is a teacher who wants all of their students to elevate and be accountable and have this holistic worldly view of things. Like you don't want to do work, little Cindy Lou. So all
Lord Jesus,
mad.
not Cindy
Yeah, I
Lou.
brought Cindy Lou back.
Yes. Okay. So the teacher got fired, and the kids were pretty pissed off about it. And why she got fired. Once the parents had the little meeting and found out what was going on. But and even with the idea of the walkouts that Will had, Carlton gets pulled to the side by the teacher and was like,
Oh,
"Look, what,
ooh, I
let me,
thought that was profound.
you thought what?
I thought that was really profound. Go ahead and say what
Why?"
you're saying, girl.
What I was gonna say was I was going back and forth when she pulled him to the side. I was like, "Look, I know what you're trying to do. I get it, but down the line, you may regret it. It may hinder you in whatever your career path is." Da da da. And I thought about it and I said, she's probably telling the truth. It's a
No, she wasn't.
50-50. No, 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 no. What I'm trying to say is this. He may have some blocks because of it, but it won't stop him from where he's going. He may have some people that might try to do whatever, but that's going to happen anyway because he's black. So for me, I would still recommend him. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to be with you. Do what I got to do because they can't stop and also his dad has power too. So it's just for me, it's like, because people in that position like that, she is in line where it's like they'll try to stop him from making it, is what I'm trying to say.
But,
But go ahead.
but see, I didn't get that from it because I felt like she's a contrarian. Like from the entire scene, she was in the little corner when Will was talking
Yes,
about
she
a
was.
walkout
Hmm.
and a blackout. She was over there looking contrary and like objecting mentally, like
Okay.
non-verbally to everything. And
Hmm.
so I felt like if you notice how Carlton handled her, he handled her like, I'm just gonna pacify her and say what she wants me to say, but it's not gonna stop me from feeling how I feel. Like she was trying to scare him and discourage him from doing the walkout or pushing this narrative, like pushing this agenda, right? She is one of those people who is black in her presence at the school is black in skin only. Like
Mm.
she is just a statistic there. And that's what I got from that scene.
So you said you don't agree with what I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
I'm saying I don't agree that she was actually looking out for Carlton.
Oh,
I
I see what
think
you're
that
saying
she's just
now. Well, okay,
I think that
I
she has just
received it.
been yeah, I just think that she is she is the opposite of Aunt Viv. And if we remember what Aunt Viv was talking about, she was talking about you got to shake up the system, you got to challenge the system. The teacher sponsor of the Black Student Association, she is not one of those to challenge the status quo. That is not her. She's one of those go along to get along, and she was trying to discourage and scare Carlton into
Uh-oh. Well, we lost Stacy. I don't know if there was. See, just come back. Anything left? Yeah. Um. So Hillary ends up driving Jazz's car. She asked him. She asked to use it, and it took a minute because he loves that car. I mean, it was just a mess. with him using it, and then Ivy ended up being the one driving it. It was just a hot mess to me. We did cover Jeffrey finally coming back to the crib and taking over and doing what he has to do. Um, Phil and Jeffrey do have the conversation we all been waiting for this entire time. Talking about his son and how he was triggered. I'm trying to see, is that... Viv is trying to meet with Reed, but he is ignoring her. And then all of a sudden, the gallery owner, they canceled a meeting with her at the last second. Viv left this message that she was no longer working with him, with his assistant. I feel like that Reed is actually hating on Aunt Viv, and that all the stuff. Well, he's mad that he's bitter that she didn't give him any. She didn't want to have nothing to do with him. That's one. The other part of it is he sounds like he's just a bitter guy. That's just he's period. I mean, he's just horrible. So anyway, y'all, we're gonna end this. My girl dipped out. Her computer probably overheated. We both been on live, y'all. If y'all missed Ready to Love live, that was every. I mean, Ready to Love. Lord have mercy. Love Marriage DC panel that we did. That was really good. So me and Stacy are back for season 2. Like I said, for Bel Air, that was the first episode and second episode. We'll be back again next week. I'm going to try to get an intro created. Again, guys, this is the Queen of Reality TV. If you want to donate, here is my Cash App. And also follow me on Twitter. Please, I kind of stepped back from Twitter a little bit, but I need you guys to come over there and follow me, so I'll be more active again. Hit me up on Twitter, and y'all follow me on YouTube as well, and Facebook. Find me on there and find my groups. Until next time, guys. Let me see. If I can just get ready to close the door. And I can't find it. We're going to end it this way instead, since it's tripping. Y'all know y'all at work watching me. Y'all better hurry up, hit that like button, subscribe before your boss come around the corner. Hey, girl.